When you own a piece of land, you don't just own the surface. You own a wedge-shaped section to the center of the earth and a reasonable distance out from it. True story. New York City. Donald Trump bought a building about 25 years ago. He named it Trump Plaza, and he wanted the penthouse suite to be the most spectacular thing imaginable. So he approached the next door neighbor and bought an air lot. I read about this in The Art of the Deal about 25 years ago, and then I actually saw it for the very first time about 3 years ago on The Apprentice. And it actually has a glass floor to it. It's cantilevered out there. I would love to read the legal description of that air lot. You can bet that it refers to some horizontal benchmark or datum. The most common of all datums is sea level. And it probably says so many feet up from sea level and then so many feet up above that. The earliest legal description that ever was is called metes and bounds. Also called courses and distances. Comes from Old English. A whole lot of our law really does. Metes and bounds. Metes means distance, as in meter, a unit of measurement, and bounds means direction, as in the direction that the ball bounces. I have a really old metes and bounds description that's kind of cool. Commencing at a heap of stones about a stone's throw from a certain small clump of alders, near a brook running down off a rather high part of the ridge, thence by a straight line to a certain marked white birch tree about 2 or 3 times as far as the jog in the fence going around said ledge and the great swamp so called. I'm going to add it down because it gets a little boring after a while. Thence after turning around in another direction to a certain heap of stones, which is by pacing just 18 rods more from the stump of the big hemlock tree where Philo Blake killed the bear. Thence to the corner begun up by 2 straight lines of about equal length, which are to be run in by some skilled and competent surveyor so as to include the area and acreage as herein set forth. Connecticut Court Records, 1812. It is a real legal description. I want to talk to you about metes and bounds. Metes and bounds always starts at a place, and the name of the place that it begins is the same as the name of the place that it ends, the point of beginning. Then it goes certain distances and certain directions till it comes back to completion. In the printout materials that you have available, I have a very simple little metes and bounds description. It references a monument, which they usually do. Some of the old ones reference a pile of rocks or an old oak tree, which is really kind of bad because that's probably gone. This one references the corner of the southwest corner of Sheffield Avenue in Waveland, and it says go 12 feet south to the point of beginning. So that's where we're going to be starting. Then it says to go another 600 feet south, and then we're going to turn and go west for 610 feet. This is when it gets interesting. We have a directional indicator. What the directional indicator is telling us is N 30 15 W. That directional indicator is referred to as quadrangle survey. The first letter will always be an N or an S. And the last letter will always be a W or an E. And it indicates how far you deviate from true north or true south. A circle contains 360 degrees. We do have an illustration that shows the circle containing 360 degrees, and I'm going to have that right here for you for just a moment. As you can see, there are 360 degrees in an entire circle. And of the degrees, each degree can be further sliced down into 60 minutes, and each minute can be further sliced down into 60 seconds. So the 30 degrees is the first set of numbers. The last set of numbers indicates the number of minutes. In today's modern technology, there are lots of different softwares available. About 15 years ago, I had some software that cost $300 that I had in my computer, and it allowed me to just type in the legal description, and the software itself would draw the picture of the property, calculate the acreage, and give me an illustration of it. It was pretty awesome. Today, for about $9.99, there's 10 different apps that I've been able to find for the various smart devices that you can download and do the same thing. When you're doing them, the way that they want to see it indicated, they have you put the distance that you're going to be going first. So it's, in the case of our illustration, it's 750 feet. And then it has a comma, and then you put the direction and the way you write it, because most little smart devices don't have the little degrees and all that, you would put just a decimal point and 15, and if there were any seconds, you would add those as 2 more digits at the end of it. Then you put the final directional indicator and then a semicolon to go to the next distance and direction. The one that we have in our illustration here, we're going to go 30 degrees and a little bit more than that. Circle has 360 degrees, right angle has 90. So we're going to just go about 1/3 of a right angle. So that gives us our directional indicator right there. So basically, if I drew a true north-south line, I am deviating 30 degrees and a little bit towards the west. Thence, we're going to head back to where we began, 720 feet to the point of beginning.